Countless companies, both public and private, newspapers, networks alike, devote major ad dollars, ink, and hours of coverage to the holy grail of marketing, what Gen Z wants. But are we all ignoring a sleeping, or rather emerging giant? Make way for the gateway generation. PR and marketing firm DKC did a deep dive on Gen Alpha, those born between 2010 and 2024. And Matt Traub is the Chief Operating Officer for DKC and joins us now with insights. Matt, good to see you, man. Paint us a picture first of just who Gen Alpha is and the type of power they have, the type of influence.
Sure. So Gen Alpha is the generation that comes right after Gen Z. They were born after 2010 and after. And so they're, max out at about 13 years old now. They are a fast-growing generation. They're entrepreneurial. They have a lot more spending power than you think already, both in terms of the money that they're earning. Even these young kids are earning money, and also the influence that they have on their household spending. Most of their households are headed by millennial parents, and which we know to be the largest and ultimately will be the wealthiest generation based on what people predict. But Gen Alpha is coming up fast, and they're a really meaningful generation, and it's important for brands now to understand how to speak to this audience, even if they're not speaking to them directly yet. Know who they are, what makes them tick, the influence that they're having on their entire household. We call them the gateway generation because they are literally changing the spend of their entire household. We surveyed parents of Gen Alpha kids, and those parents are saying that half of the spending in their household, half of the total spending in their household, is being determined by the preferences and desires of their Gen Alpha kids.
The one word that threw me off there was earning. They're actually earning money in that age group, not just spending mom and dad's money.
They are. They're earning money and they're spending money, and they are spending an average of $45 a month, which is a lot more than a lot of us thought that they would be spending. And they are, I'm sorry, $45 a week is what they're spending. And they are earning money through a variety of sources, some of which would make sense to you. They're getting paid for chores or good grades that they get. Some of them might have side jobs like a babysitter or something like that, all the things that you might think, especially at the older part of that generation. And we looked at the 8 to 13-year-olds, the parents of 8 to 13-year-olds. But they're also 36% of Gen Alpha kids are making money by selling or reselling products, which was astounding to us. These are entrepreneurs. They're already creating businesses for themselves at such a young age.
That is incredible, man. Of all the numbers you just threw out, it's really interesting how they are not just influencers, but they're influencing in their own homes. Tell me how they're influencing their parents and with it, purchases.
Yeah, so their parents are reporting that they have very strong opinions about brands, about corporations. They are very socially conscious. They care about brands that actually meet some of their values, and they are making those opinions known. They say that their kids are frequently advising them on the brands they should be buying, the products they should be buying, and that they find these to be the ones that the household should adopt, and the parents are following suit. By the way, this is also a really savvy generation. Most of these parents are saying that their kids know more often than they do about new brands and about the values of some of these brands. They certainly are learning it well before they ever did, and so they are coming in as informed consumers at a young age, and as a result, the parents are listening.
I will tell you, I have a 12-year-old at home that often points out brands and interesting inventions, and was the first one to point out the Stanley Cup, actually, in my family. So, yeah, you're spot on there. To my point in the introduction, though, about all the attention and devotion to Gen Z, is there a real missed opportunity to target this age group?
Well, not yet because they're new, and I think there are a lot of marketers who wouldn't be marketing to kids under 13 anyway. And what we wanted to do with this study is it's very preliminary. Where this generation is young, they're just forming. We're getting some really interesting, signals from about how they behave and how brands should be thinking about them. And again, one of the most important things is the impact they're having on the household economics. So it's not just what they're paying for themselves, although, as I said, they are buying a lot themselves, but it's about how they're influencing millennial. But right now, what we're doing, it's basically like shining a flashlight into a cave. We're just starting to see the form of what this generation is. They will evolve. Things will change in terms of what their preferences are. But what brands should know is that they are coming up, they're already having a strong impact, and that they should be thinking about some of the principles that they bring to consumerism that they may not have thought about before, social or that they aren't that they haven't thought about from that generation.
Sure.
Social conscious, authenticity, having a real message and focus. Not some of them not too dissimilar from their Gen Z older siblings, but they're bringing it in their own way and with their own spin. They're the first generation that is so fully digital that they don't even have a choice. Gen Z and millennials before them came into the digital world at some point in their childhood. Gen Alpha, it was there from the start.
Yeah, what are the negative consequences of that? Well, we may not know for decades, but that's for another study. Your study broke down the companies that Gen Alpha really enjoys shopping at. I was surprised in particular, number one was Walmart. Also that Costco and Dollar Tree were in the top 10. Was there anything that surprised you there, and what'd you learn?
Yeah, actually, those were not as surprising to us as a couple of the others. We looked at both the stores that they go to or shop at, in the case of an Amazon, and the brands that they are attentive to. And on the store side, Walmart, Target, Costco, Dollar Tree, these are the stores their parents are taking them to. It's not surprising that the largest retailers in the country are getting a lot of the attention of the kids who are going along with their parents to them. But in that list, you see things like Sephora, which speaks to the popularity of beauty on social media through influencers, makeup tutorials, things like that, has created incredible. If you've been to a Sephora lately, you'll see that it basically has the vibe of the Taylor Swift concert. It's loud, it's festive, it's young, and that's coming from this generation. And so brands like that stuck out to us as retailers. As brands who they patronize, Nike was number one by far. And I think that what we see in a brand like Nike is that they care about authenticity, they care about the message and the vision of the brand, which Nike has always been super crisp about. And so it makes sense when we see some of the psychographic of this generation that they care about a brand like Nike. There are also ones that are, again, not so surprising on their Starbucks. A lot of them, my Gen Alpha child has my Starbucks app loaded onto her phone. She walks into town with her friends after school and she gets a pink drink or a strawberry refresher, and that's also part of how they're spending their money. But so that's not surprising. Nintendo, especially the boys in this generation, video games are popular and important. So a lot of those don't surprise us if you have a Gen Alpha child or you're around Gen Alpha child, but it really does. It's a wake-up call to brands about how to think about this and the types of interests they have.
I do, and Starbucks refreshers are a huge hit. I want to get back to Nike because what fascinates me there is I'm 47. I was brand loyal to Nike as a kid and have been for 30 years. I'm wearing Nikes with a suit right now. How in the world have they been able to spread that brand loyalty over such a wide demographic? Usually you have to target one or the other.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. And they have, and I think that the best explanation I have is that they have been really disciplined at having a very clear value proposition for who they are, not just the products, but who they are as a brand. And what they have always done, this level of authenticity and a sense of really understanding who they are and what they stand for, really it appealed to previous generations, to you and to me, but it really resonates with this Gen Alpha group.
And perhaps the biggest surprise to me here was that there's a real charitable side to this Gen Alpha, despite the fact that they're so young. Where did that come from, and what does it mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think they are socially conscious in general. They are aware of brands that in their perception are doing good. They want to patronize those brands, and I guess a pretty natural outcrop of that is that they also care about doing their part in the world, and part of that is contributions. A high percentage of parents of Gen Alpha children say that their kids are pushing them to give contributions. What's interesting about it is, I think traditionally in generations, you think of as a parent, and I do this as a parent too. Well, when I was coming up, starting as a parent, you think of it as a sort of a one-way street. You teach your kids the values and the things that are important, and you hope that they absorb some of them. And as they get older, maybe into their late teens, they keep some of it, they discard some of it, they start to become their own humans. But for that beginning part, especially 18 to 13-year-olds, it tends to be a one-way street. What we're seeing in Gen Alpha is it's a two-way street. The Gen Alpha children are pushing their parents and their families to adopt the values that they think are important and patronize the companies that they agree with, and also that they like. It's not just a social issue, but it's also the brands that they think are great brands that have that do it right on social media, which is where they all exist. And that two-way street is new. We've never seen that in a generation, that there's that kind of influence at such a young age that goes up to the parents as opposed to down to the children.
Good stuff. Really enjoyed the study and the insights there, as well as the beard and glasses combo. Obvious kudos there. Matt
I
Traub,
quickly did it for you.
I appreciate that. Chief Operating Officer of DKC. Good to see you.